All right, we are moving on to the second part, the second element of the 4P marketing mix, which is the pricing. Okay, the pricing has the two unique features, okay, two unique characteristics comparing with the other elements of 4P. Okay, first of all right, let's talk about the definition of the price. The price is the amount of money charged for the product or service. What is the other word for the product or service? Is market offering, right? So whatever we do, let's close the door. Okay, I closed the window. I'm sorry. So whatever we do, whatever we offer to the market, okay, we want, say, monetary value, okay, in exchange of the market offering. That monetary value is the price, the money charged for the market offering. Okay, it is the sum of all the value that consumer give up in order to gain the benefit or having or using a product or service. Okay, this price has the two unique, okay, characteristics. Okay, the first one is this one. This price is the only the revenue generating element, which means that other three elements in the 4Ps are all cost generator. Okay, if you want to, for example, the product, if you want to make like product, you need to put lots of R&D, okay, investment to make the product. Okay, maybe you need to outsource to name the product, the branding. Okay, that is also cost generator. And if you want to actually make the product, okay, it requires the cost, right? The product is the cost generator. And what if like the channel, okay, the marketing channel or place, okay, sometimes you need to hire your agent, or like you need to use the distributor, or like you need to pay some money to put your product on the shelf in the retail place. Okay, you need to pay to the retailer for selling your product. Okay, in that sense, channel is also cost generator. What about the promotion? You have to pay money to the, say, ad agency, so to speak. Okay, the promotion is also a cost generator. This price is the only elements which can give you the money. Again, why are we doing this? Because we are doing the marketing to make money, right? So the price is that important. Okay, if you screw up the pricing, okay, you are not making money. Okay, just think about how important it is, right? The second unique part is the other three P's is kind of change resistant. Okay, it takes lots of time, okay, to modify it. So once you set up, okay, once you make like once you make a decision for the other three P's, product, place, and promotion, okay, you cannot change too quickly. Okay, although, okay, it is more like a short-term oriented than comparing with like a SDP. Still, okay, the product and place and promotion, okay, it takes some time to modify it. For example, say you make like a product and you launch the product. Do you think like you can change the product in next morning? You cannot do that, right? What about the place? Okay, you make some contract with your retailers, and can you just like nullify, just ignore the contract and choose the another dealers next morning? You cannot do that, right? Promotion, same thing. Okay, it takes time to run the new promotional vehicle, or like it takes some time to make like a new video, I mean new advertisement, and so on and so forth. Okay, however, price is like a very easy to modify, amend. Okay, so price can be different in the morning and in the night, right? The price of the Wednesday can be different from the price of in the Tuesday. It's on Tuesday or something like that, right? Say, the ladies' night in the club, right? Wednesday night is like a ladies' night. The ladies is admit free. That is price modification. The price of the for the ladies on Tuesday on Wednesday is different. Okay, like this. Okay, it is very easy to change. Okay, since the price is the easiest element to modify or like amend. Okay, it becomes like a very handy tool to the marketer, right? So if if you want to change the product, it takes time. But if you want to change the price, you can do that right away, right? That is the key difference between this price and other three elements of 4Ps. Okay, then again, right? I believe that, right? Let's talk about how to choose the price. Okay, that is what we call choosing the price. Is like a pricing, right? So if you want to choose the right price, okay, the first thing you have to know is like the customer's value perception, right? I think like I've already talked about this one before. Okay, whatever you do in the marketing, okay, whatever strategy you want to make, the first step is gonna be always. The first step in that process is always understanding market or studying your customer and getting knowledge about your customer. That's gonna be always the first step for whatever marketing strategy, right? It is same thing in the pricing. If you want to set up the good price, okay, optimal price for the product, okay, first thing is you have to understand the customers. In this case, okay, what do you know about your customers? You need to know about their value perception, okay. How much do the customers value your product? That is something you have to know in advance before you set up the price. Okay, that is in fact the value pricing. But in the pricing, okay, there is another method. Okay, there is different method from the value pricing, which is the cost based pricing. Okay, to talk about the difference between the value pricing and the cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing, or sometimes some people call it like cost based pricing. Okay, let me talk about the difference between these two. Right, first of all, right, the price is to choose the right price. Okay, we can choose what is the price ceiling and what is the price floor. Okay, price ceiling is like say upper maximum price. Okay, which the price cannot go beyond that. Okay, upper limit of the price. Okay, so the customer would not pay more money than their perceived value, right? If they believe that, okay, hey, that product is like worth about $100, and if you charge like a 110, they're not gonna pay 110. Okay, in that sense, it's gonna be like the upper limit of the price. We call it price ceiling, 천정. Okay, and what if like what about the price floor? Okay, that is the minimum of the price you can charge, lower limit of the price. You would not sell in most of the cases, okay, to be specific, okay, to be exact, okay. Sometimes, okay, you can sell the product at the lower price, lower than the cost, okay. That is what they call the dumping, right? However, in the most of cases, okay, you don't want to sell your product lower than your cost. Okay, so price rarely go lower than your cost level. So your cost for the product work as price floor product. Okay, so as the customers perceive the value work as price ceiling, and your cost is work as a cost floor. Okay, your price is going to be decided in between these 2 points, considering other factors such as your marketing strategy or competition or like a nature of the market and demand or competitive strategy, so on and so forth. Okay, the price is going to be decided somewhere in between these 2 points. Okay, yes, I believe that is the if we okay, if we decide, if we choose if we know the customer's value perception, okay, then move this way, then that is what we call value pricing. Okay, we can also approach to the optimal price from the different point, from the cost. Okay, if you choose the cost first, okay, if you decide the production cost first, and then you add up some markup and try to choose, try to make like a final price starting from this the cost. That is what we call the cost plus pricing. I'm telling you, the more recommendable pricing is gonna be value pricing from here to over here. Okay. However, okay, before we talk about this one, by the way, we're gonna talk about this the value pricing maybe next class. Okay. In this class, we're gonna start from the cost plus pricing, moving from the cost to the final price. Okay, are you ready? Right. The cost-based pricing involves the setting price based on the cost for the producing, distributing, and selling the product, plus a fair rate of return for the product, for its effort and risk. Okay, but before we discuss the cost-based pricing, okay, we need to understand what is the difference between markup and margin on sales, right? Lots of people actually got confused with the markup and margin on sales. In fact, this textbook, okay, interchangeably use the markup and margin on sales, which is mistake. Okay, so let me try to distinguish the two things. All right, say suppose that the selling price is the selling price is composed of cost plus profit. Okay, the markup is the number in which like profit divided by cost. Okay, the margin on sales. Okay, even without the on sales, when we say the margin, it is profit divided by the selling price. Okay, so when we say that, say markup is the 20%, then it is the 20% is 20% out of the cost. Okay, when margin is 20%, that 20% is 20% out of the final selling price. You see the difference? I'm going to give you some example to help you to understand this one a little bit better. All right. For example, when cost is 100, suppose the unit cost is 100. Okay. So if you need 40% markup, the profit is the 40 out of 100. Right? So what I'm doing this one, gosh, hold on. I'm so stupid. I just fix this one. I made a typo. Hold on, please. I'm sorry. Oh gosh. You know what? I realized that I cannot correct this typo in the middle of the recording. And please, I don't want to record it all over again because I've already recorded 40 minutes. Okay, but I promise that I'm gonna correct this one when I upload the PowerPoint slide. Okay, obviously, as you know, all right, 40 over 100 is like a 40%, not 50%. Okay, so if you need the 40% markup, when we say markup, it is 40% of the cost. Cost is 100. So 40%. So the final price is going to be the $100, that is cost, plus 40% of this cost, which is $40. So final price is gonna be 140. Now, where's my face? Okay, here we go. Okay, but the margin on sales is a little bit different. Okay, if you need 40% margin on sales, it means that, okay, the profit, as I said, right? See, margin on sales is that profit over selling price. Okay, so when we say that the 40% margin on sales means the 40% of the final price, not the cost. Okay, so it means that the profit divided by sales is 40%, and which means the cost is actually the remaining 60% of sales. You know what I mean? Okay, the margin is 40% of the final price, which means that the cost is 60% of the final price, the sales. Okay, so 100, which means 100 divided by sales is going to be 0.6, 60%. Okay, cost is going to be 100, right? Thus, the final price is going to be 100 divided by 0.6. So it's going to be 166.67. That is the final price. You follow me? Right? So this one, you just like solve this equation, right? See, if you put like sales as X, what's going to be X? 100 divided by X is going to be 0.6. Then X is 100 divided by 0.6. So it is $166.67 for the final price. More generally, okay, when the margin on sales is X percent, X not X percent, okay, then the final price is cost divided by 1 minus X. Okay, if the margin on sales is like 0.3, then the final price is going to be cost divided by 1 minus 0.3, 0.7. Then it will give you the final price. Okay, you know. So let me give you another example. Previously, okay, if you need 40% markup, the profit is 40%. I'm gonna change this one again. Okay, the final price is gonna be 140, right? So then maybe I can ask you, okay, say in the final exam, okay, so what's gonna be equivalent margin on sales to the 40% markup, like this? Okay, then how to calculate that one? In this equation, you need to calculate the margin on sales. Calculating margin on sales is easy, right? Again, see, margin on sales is like a profit divided by selling price. You know what is the profit, and you know what is selling price. All you need to do is calculating 40 over 140. So equivalent, the margin on sales is going to be 25%, 25.57%. Okay, you can refer to this, let's say, converting table between the markup percentage and margin on sales. Okay, 15% markup is equivalent to the 13% the margin on sales. Okay, maybe this one is more easier to understand. 100% markup means what? When we say the 100% markup, which means that your profit is going to be exactly the same as the cost. Okay, for example, if your product is say cost is 100, if you ask 100% markup, which means that your profit is going to be 100 here, $100 too. Okay, then what's going to be your final price? 100 plus 100 is going to be 200, which that is your final price. Then in this case, what is the margin on sales? Your final price is 200, and your profit is just like, your final price is 200, and your profit is 100. Then 100 divided by 200, your margin on sales is going to be 50. So the equivalent margin on sales to the 100% markup is gonna be 50%, like this. Okay. The reason I'm actually talking about this one is like for those of you who are reading the textbook. This textbook is like, again, this textbook is like bestseller in the world. Okay. However, as far as I know, this the Kotler is a marketing guru mistakenly interchangeably use the markup and margin on sales. But okay, they just like take this one as a saying, right? But it is not. Okay, those two concept is different. Okay, let's apply. Let's practice this. It's all right. In this class, to avoid the confusion between this the markup and margin on sales, I'm gonna use the margin on sales only. Okay, I'm not gonna use the term markup. Margin on sales only. Okay, you always need to calculate. Okay, this way. All right. I'm gonna give you another example. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Before I'm giving you I give you the actual calculation example. Okay. Let's talk about cost in detail. Right, in the cost-based pricing, the cost is important. That is the first key to understand. Okay, there are two types of the cost. Okay, there are fixed cost and variable cost. Actually, there are two types of cost. Total cost is like a sum of this fixed cost and variable cost. Okay, variable cost times the quantity, in fact. All right. So what is the fixed cost? The fixed costs are the costs that do not vary with production or sales level. Okay, which means that it doesn't matter how many units of the product you make. The fixed cost is fixed. Okay, so even if like you make 100 units, or even if you want to make like the 1,000 units, okay, fixed cost does not vary. Right? For example, rent. Okay, maybe you suppose that you rent, okay, a factory that you pay. Then you need to pay the rent. Okay, it doesn't matter that whether you make like 100 units in that factory or you make like 1,000 units. Okay, your rent does not vary on your production level. The heat is gonna be same thing. Okay, and suppose it is 광열비, all right. What about the interest? To pay for the rent, or like suppose that you buy the factory. Okay, to buy the factory, you loan a money. Okay, you borrow a money from the bank. Say you borrow $1 million. Okay, to buy a factory. Okay, since you borrow the money, you need to pay the interest to the bank. Okay, so when it comes to the amount of the interest amount you pay, okay, it doesn't matter how much you make in that factory, right? Whether you make 100 units, 1,000 units, as long as like you borrowed $1 million, you pay the same amount as an interest. In that sense, okay, interest is also fixed cost. Executive salaries, this is a kind of problem, right? The executives in the U.S. usually have like fixed salaries. Okay, so some people receive the incentive or like a compensation for the their sales, but their sales salary is kind of fixed. Okay, it is kind of sarcastic, right? So it doesn't matter that, okay, even if like the executives, the CEO of the company sells 100 units or like 10,000 units, they just like make the same amount as a salary. In that sense, it is also fixed cost. It is nonsense, but it is true, right? But however, the variable cost is different. Variable costs are the costs that vary with level of production, which means that if you want to make like a more unit, you have to pay more, right? For example, say raw material. If you want to make like 100 units, okay, you need to pay 10 times more variable cost than the production cost for the 10 unit. 100 is like a 10 times, right, of the 10 unit, right? So you have to pay more money if you want to make like a more unit. That is the variable cost. Packaging is same thing. Okay, if you make like a more unit, okay, if you want to make or sell the more unit, okay, you have to pay more for the packaging. That is the example of the variable cost. But however, please, okay, please don't be confused. Okay, when we say that it is fixed and it is variable, okay, if we want to talk about the cost per unit, okay, it is whole different story. In other words, okay, just think about this. The rent, okay, I pay the say $1,000 for the rent for the factory. Okay, if you make like 1,000 unit, then the rent per unit is gonna be $1, right? So I have to write it again. Hold on. Yes. Okay. Say suppose that you make like you pay rent as much as like $1,000. Suppose you make like a quantity, say 1,000. I need like a digitalizer. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I promise. I'm gonna learn how to do that later on. Then, what is the rent per unit? You simply divide this $1,000 as with say 1,000. Okay, that is the $1 per 1 unit, right? But however, what if like you only make 100 units? Then you divide, okay, you divide 1,000 fixed cost divided by only 100 units. Then you have like $10 per unit. Unit, okay. So you see, the fixed cost in total haven't changed. It is all the same as like $1,000. However, when it comes to the fixed cost per unit, obviously it varies on the production level. As a whole, the fixed cost doesn't change, okay, doesn't vary on the production level. But when we calculate fixed cost per unit, okay, it varies on the production level, like this, right? So when you make like a more unit, okay, fixed cost per unit decrease from $10 to the $1, right? That is the fixed cost per unit. Oh, what about? Yeah, what about this? Shit. I forgot how to do this. Hold on. Alright. I need eraser. There we go. Okay. Right. Variable cost is different story. That's actually the other side of the same token, maybe. The variable cost, okay, that varies with level of production. What I'm saying is like as a whole, okay, the total variable cost is gonna be total variable cost vary with level of production. However, the variable cost per unit doesn't change, right? For example, say variable cost, say suppose the variable cost is like $10 per unit. Okay, so it's gonna be saying $10 per unit even if you make like 100 quantity, we say 100 or 1,000. Okay, no matter how many units you make, okay, the variable cost per unit is going to be same. However, what is the total variable cost then? The total variable, to calculate the total variable cost, you need to multiply this one, right? Since like it is $10 per unit, okay? If you want to make like 100 unit, then its total is going to be what? That is 1,000, right? And if you want to make like the 1,000 unit, you multiply this one, then it's going to be 10,000. See, say variable cost. The variable cost, although say it says variable, okay. When we say that the variable, the total variable cost varies on the level of production. However, unlike the production, I mean the fixed cost, the variable cost per unit is in fact fixed as $10. Okay, so so the fixed or variable, this term comes from say total amount of cost. Say the fixed cost is, well, we can call it fixed cost because total fixed cost doesn't change, right? That is why we call it fixed. But here we call it variable cost because the total variable cost varies on the level of production. When it comes to the fixed cost per unit and the variable cost per unit is all opposite. Okay, a different story. Okay, in other words, fixed cost per unit doesn't change. The fixed cost per unit does change over different level of production. However, the variable cost per unit does not change over different level of production. Okay? Don't be confused. Okay? That is the key thing to understand the learning curve, by the way. Anyway, let's get the eraser. Right? What is the total cost? The total costs are the sum of fixed and variable cost for any level of production. Okay? So you can calculate the total cost at the given level of production, which means that you can calculate the total cost at the production level of the 30,000. Then the total cost is going to be different, okay, when you make like a 40,000 or something like that. The average cost is you need to divide this total cost divide by the number of units. Okay. So what's going to be? Say the average cost per unit. Okay, that is the average cost. The total cost divided by the production level, that's going to be say average cost. Okay. All right. Let's. Okay. Right. Now let's go back to we are ready to talk about the cost-based pricing. All right. Say again, here's like a markup, all right? That is why the people are actually got confused with the markup and the margin on sales. I use the standard markup as it is because the textbook used the term standard markup, okay? But even though you see the term as a markup, okay? You just like consider this one as same as the margin on sales because this textbook, okay, do not actually distinguish the markup and margin on sales. Okay, so when you call that markup pricing as we did before, okay, this is basically margin on sales kind of pricing. All right, unit cost divided by 1 minus desired rate of return, margin on sales. Okay, see, we did it. This is what we did, right? So when we use the margin on sales, okay, you divide total cost by 1 minus margin on sales. That is how we calculate this markup pricing. Okay, let's practice. Let's practice the margin on sales, the markup pricing or margin on sales pricing. All right. Suppose is a variable cost is $20 per unit. Okay, fixed cost is the 500,000, and expected sales is like 100,000 units, and desired margin. Okay, I actually fixed it in the original slides that it says that desired markup, but to avoid confusion, I just like change this letter, change this term. In the textbook, it is written as a desired markup. Okay, do not use the word markup. Okay, we're gonna use the margin on sales, right? Say so if you want to calculate the final price, okay, in the cost-based pricing, you need to calculate the unit cost first. Okay, see, you have to calculate the unit cost first. How to calculate the unit cost? Say the variable cost is the $20. Okay, then you need to add the fixed cost per unit. How to calculate the fixed cost per unit? We did it, right? Fixed cost per unit actually varies. Remember, the fixed cost divided by your unit sales. The fixed cost over here is like 500,000 divided by the unit 100,000, 100,000. Okay, then this is gonna be $5, right? So $20 plus $5. So $25 is gonna be $25 per unit is gonna be your unit cost. Okay. Since we have like unit cost, then to calculate the markup pricing, you need to divide this unit cost by 1 minus margin on sales, which is 20%. You can do it. Then $25 divided by 1 minus margin on sales, which is 0.2. Then it will give you $31.25. That is like what we call the manufacturer's price. Manufacturer's price is the price the manufacturer charged to the retailers. In other words, the retailer needs to pay this amount to buy the product from the manufacturers. Okay. Then let's calculate the retailer's price. All right. Say to calculate retailer's price, okay, we can also use the same formula as before. Then what is the unit cost for the retailers? Hey, retailer pays this amount to the manufacturers. So this amount, manufacturer's price becomes retailer's unit cost. Right? So 31.25, okay? We are kind of ignoring all other costs, right? We just like think this is the unit cost, right? Retailer might have like a different cost generator, right? That they rent for the retail setting or so on and so forth. But let's ignore all the things, right? So this one is gonna be the cost to the retailers, and they charge 30% margin on sales. Then you divide this unit cost for the retailer divided by 1 minus 0.3. Then it is 44.64 per unit. This is what we call retailer's price. Manufacturer's price, and this is retailer's price. Retailer's price is what? Okay, that is the price retailer charge for the product to the customers. In other words, the customer needs to pay this amount to buy the product from the retailers. Here is like some confusing point, okay? If we call this one as a manufacturer's price and this one as a retailer's price, then it would be fine. But however, we have a lot more names for this retailer price. Sometimes we call it as a retailer price, not retailer's price. Okay? Or some people call it retail price, some people call it consumer price, and some people call it final price. All these names is like pointing out same price. Yeah, that is confusing. That is very confusing, right? Say, for example, here it's like manufacturer's price. We put like the name of the price charger, right? So, but here We also call this one as a, say, retail price, not retailer's price, right? This is kind of so confusing. How, you know, just to think about this. How could this the retailer price and consumer price can pointing out the same thing? Retailer price and consumer price, it got to be different, right? However, okay, it's the term in the term in the marketing, lots of term in the marketing is kind of confusing, okay? Yeah, I know, okay, but get used to it. That is what it is, right? So all this name is like meaning the same things, right? Okay, you understand this, right? Hey, come on. I told you that there's gonna be hidden quiz. There is like a first hidden quiz. You read it over, okay? Then you answer this question. It's gonna be say quiz number 1. In the quiz tab in the e-class, I'm gonna say that, hey, what's gonna be final price? What's gonna be retailer's price? That's it. Then you just like use this information and just like type in the final price in the quiz. Okay? I believe that you can calculate this one. Hey, this is practice. I'm telling you, you will see the same type of problem, okay, same type of question in the final exam. If you don't, sue me. Okay? Alright, let's move on. Alright, okay, like I said, alright, the fixed cost, although it sounds like a fixed, okay, the total amount of fixed cost doesn't change. However, the fixed cost per unit change over different level of production. That is what I said, right? Say this experience curve is just like that. As I showed you before, okay, this this fixed cost, okay? If you want to make like a more unit, okay, based on the same fixed cost, then fixed cost per unit decrease, right? Again, say we pay like $1,000. I have to do this one again. I hate this. If I in the board, okay, say this number, what I wrote got to stays in the some area in the whiteboard, but why am I doing this again? All right, say suppose the two cases we make like a 100 unit and the 1,000 unit, okay. So what's gonna be the fixed cost per unit? In this case, that's gonna be $10, right? And here it's gonna be $1. If you make like a more unit, fixed cost per unit decrease, right? That is I'm never get used to it. Right, that is the experience curve. Alright, if you make like a more and more unit, okay, your cost per unit decrease. Why? Because okay, your variable cost doesn't vary, okay, over your variable cost per unit doesn't vary over different level of the manufacturing unit. However, the fixed cost per unit varies over different level of the manufacturing, right? So over here, okay, if you want to calculate the unit cost, it's going to be variable cost plus fixed cost per unit. Okay, if you increase your production, you increase this denominator. Okay, then this the total term fixed cost per unit is going to decrease. Okay, as a result, you will have smaller unit cost. Right? That is the source of the learning curve. which means that if you make like a more, if you make more unit, okay, your cost per unit decrease. This is actually based for the, say, the penetration pricing. In Korean, we call it a 방리담에, right? If you decrease the price, okay, if you make like a more and more product, okay, that it actually pull your cost down because the cost per, fixed cost per unit decrease. Since the cost is getting smaller and smaller when you increase the production level, then you can actually lower your price a little bit lower and lower, right? So that is the relationship between the unit sale, unit produced, and the final price. Generally, okay, if you increase the production unit, okay, your cost decrease. It gives you some more room to decrease your price. Okay, even if you can fix your, say, the profit level, all right? All right. Now, okay, with this information, we've already talked about how to calculate the unit cost. Okay, and based on the unit cost, we know how to calculate the cost plus pricing. Okay. Now let's move a little bit a step forward. Okay. Based on this information, okay, let's calculate break even. Let's calculate the break even point and the target profit point. Okay. Although it says that, okay, the break-even pricing is the price when the total costs are equal to the total revenue and there is no profit, okay, which is the definition of the break-even point, okay, that is the profit zero point, zero, not minus, not plus, just absolutely zero. That is what we call the break-even point, okay. The target profit pricing is actually, it is actually same pricing. Same pricing to the break-even pricing. The target profit pricing, target profit point is the I'm sorry. Okay, let me calm down. Break-even point is in fact target profit zero point, right? If the target profit is zero, which is the break-even point? Okay, so this the two pricing or like a two technique. Although it has a different word, it is same thing. All right, I'm gonna show you the example of this. Right, but you know, also, okay, although we call this one as a pricing, okay, in this calculation, what we need to do is like a calculating quantity, not the pricing, right? Okay, let's approach that way. Let me give you an example. I never get used to it. All right, okay. I'm going to show you this graph, by the way. I have to tell you that you have to understand this graph very well because this is not the last time you want to see this graph in this semester. You will see this graph later, in the final exam. Okay, so you have to understand this one, right? I believe this graph is not quite difficult at all because, like, for those of you who studied, say, microeconomics, okay, you will see that this graph like so many times, right? We have three lines over here, okay. See, this one is like total revenue line, okay, and this line is like total cost line, and this is fixed cost line. Can I ask you a question? What is the how much is the fixed cost? Okay, that is easy, right? Do you see the 300? Yeah, it is 300,000, but to make it simpler, okay, let's forget about like last 30, okay, we call it, say, 300. 300 is the fixed cost, okay. Now the question is, do you know that? Can you tell me what is the, say, what is the price for this product? You need to think about this. How to calculate total revenue? Total revenue is over here. Total revenue is P times Q. Okay, you multiply price, okay, with this quantity, this graph is like total revenue is P times Q. It is more like a Y equal, you know, in the AX, right? Then how to get the value for A then? What is A in this graph? Yes, A is the slope of this line, this graph. Okay, you learn this one in the the junior high, right? The middle school, 중학교. Okay, this is like a first order equation. How to make this one how to write the equation for the total revenue? Just think about this. When you sell this 10 unit, I know this is another again 1,000, but let's forget about this. If you sell 10 units, okay, will make $200. Then what is your price? Yes, the price is 20, right? So basically, this is like TR is like is 20 times Q, right? The price is 20. If you sell like the 10 unit, your total revenue is 200. See, it is not so difficult, right? Now, here's a little bit more difficult question. Then what's gonna be, say, what is the value for the variable cost? Hey, come on, this is exactly what I'm going to ask in the final exam. So you have to know how to do that, right? How to calculate that. The variable cost comes from the total cost line. How to write the total cost line? Over here. Total cost line is fixed cost plus variable cost times the Q. So this is more like a Y equal, right? I'm sorry, let's call it B plus AX, right? Do I have to say that A plus DX? You know, since I use the A as a slope, okay, I just want to like a consistent notation for this one. All right, now this line, okay, this line is like, say, the total cost line is a fixed cost plus VC times variable cost times quantity. What do you call this FC, the fixed cost? What do you call generally? What do you call this point? In Korean, we call it 절편, Y 절편. In English, we call this as an intercept. What is the intercept amount? The intercept amount is, hey, 300, fixed cost, right? Plus, okay, now what is the value for this A? The A is also, yes, slope. Yeah. slope는 한국말로 뭐라지? 기울기. 기울기 for this is the total cost. Right? What is the 기울기? Say, slope for this line. Say, just make it, think about this. When you sell 100 units, okay, the cost increased by, I'm sorry, why am I doing this? If you make 10 units, okay, the cost increased by 100, which means what? Yes, the variable cost is 10 times X. X is Q in fact, right? Q. So the revenue, the price is $20 and variable cost is $10 and fixed cost is, say, 300. You need to find that out, okay, only based on this graph. Okay. Now, what is the break-even point? Yeah, break-even point is over here. At the break-even point, see, basically, right? At the break-even point, total revenue equal total cost. What is the profit? Profit is total revenue minus total cost, right? So this area is like a total, this area is profit, right? The profit 0 point means that, right, total revenue equal total cost. So at this point, okay? So when we set up this like the equation like this, okay, you can calculate the break-even point. Okay, let's calculate that in the next slide. Yeah, I have to erase that. Okay, to calculate the break-even point, as I said, okay, you can set up the total revenue as a total, the same as the total cost. Okay, then say you set up that this way. What is the total revenue? As I show you here, total revenue is P times Q. Okay, total cost is FC, fixed cost plus BC times Q. You just like put it this way, all right? Then you rearrange. You just like move this term to over here. Okay, then the P times Q minus BC times Q equal fixed cost. You pull out this Q out of the parentheses, then you rearrange the equation like this. Then to calculate break-even quantity, you you only divide the fixed cost divided by the P minus BC. Then you will calculate the break-even quantity. By the way, what we call this the price minus variable cost. This is what we call so-called contribution margin. In Korean, we call it the 공헌이익. Okay, this is so important because I think like the contribution margin is also very important in the finance, right? Because the contribution margin decide the amount of cash flow. So if you want to calculate the firm valuation, you need to calculate the cash flow, right? So this is the price minus BC. That is the contribution margin. In other words, if you divide the fixed cost by the contribution margin, then you will find the break-even quantity. Just think about this. Logically, you invest some money as a fixed cost. Okay. Then your goal is like you kind of eat up this fixed cost by the cash flow, the contribution margin. Okay, if this amount is gonna be say equal, then you will reach to the break-even point, right? In that sense, the break-even quantity is like a fixed cost divided by contribution margin. Now, like I said, right? See, what if like we have the specific profit level, so-called the target profit. What if like our target profit is like say what if our target profit is like a 200,000? Okay, so if we need to calculate the target profit quantity of like 200,000, which means that the question is like if you want to make like a 200,000 as a profit, how many units, okay, you need to sell? If question is that way, if question is like that, then you need to calculate the target profit calculation, okay? But target profit calculation is not quite different from the break-even point calculation, okay? Let's do the same way, all right? Actually, I need to go back again. What is the target profit point over here? Okay, what is, say, the target profit is, the profit is like a difference between these the 2 points, okay? So this 2 point is like total revenue is like $200,000 more than total cost. Okay, in other words, when we say that the target profit is 200, okay, which means that the revenue minus cost is 200. In other words, if you add the target profit to the cost, it's gonna be equal to the total revenue. Right? This graph means that, right? So with that information, all we need to do is like if we add certain amount, which is target profit, to the target cost, it's gonna be same as total revenue. You set up the equation this way. Then all you need to do is like adding the target profit on the right hand side. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Then quantity is like finally what's gonna be target profit quantity? All you need to do is add that profit amount to the fixed cost in the numerator, divided by same contribution margin. Then you will calculate the target profit quantity. You want to do that with the previous example? Let's go back. Alright. Here, if I ask like say question, how much you need to make, if you how much unit you need to sell, if you want to make like 200,000 as a target profit. Say what is the fixed cost? Again, let's forget about this like the 1,000, right? Say the fixed cost is 300, okay, plus okay target profit of 200,000, but let's forget about 1,000, okay, divided by what is the contribution margin? Price is $20. We calculate that one, right? Minus what is the variable cost? $10. So it is $500 divided by 10. So target profit quantity is gonna be 50. Hey, we got 50 over here. That is how we calculate the target profit point. Okay, it's almost identical to calculate break-even point. Okay, this is the calculate. Say, if you just like erase this one, you put 0 because like a break-even point is target profit 0 point, right? If you put like over 0 over here, you will calculate the break-even point. What is this? Like a 300 now? Then it's gonna be 330, which is break-even point over here. Right? I know. Please bear with me. This is my poor handwriting. Next class, I'm going to learn how to do the writing digitalizer. They said whatever I write on the pad is going to be clearly written, shown in the video, slide like this. I will try to do that in the next class. All right. By the way, here's another point. Okay. There's second quiz I'm gonna give, right? Again, this is second quiz. You have to answer this one. The question is, if you want to make like a $300 as a profit, not $200 as profit, how much unit you need to sell? You know how to calculate this. You should know how to calculate this. All you need to do is like changing this number. Previously, we just like put the 200. Now you are putting like a 300. That's it. Okay. You enter. You type this number. Okay, in the quiz tab. Okay. For this one, I'm not going to ask like exactly the same. I'm not going to give you exact same question because, like I said, this is like a hidden quiz. So I'm gonna say that, hey, as a quiz, my question is like how much unit you need to sell for your target profit. Then you got to know that this is the question you need to answer. Okay, hey, I'm trying to just like make sure that you are watching the video. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. All right, we have to. We're gonna continue to do this. All right, I spent like too much time on this. All right, we've already discussed the how to calculate the break-even point, and you know that okay, this point is like break-even point, right? Let me ask you a question: do you like you want to reach to the break-even point as early as possible, okay? If we if you sell the less product to reach to the break-even point, okay, it is better, right? So if you reach to the break-even point at like this point or this point, don't you think it's better? Okay, say in this graph, we have to sell at least like a 30 unit to reach to the break-even point. But it could be better. We would be happier if we reach to the break-even point only if we sell just like a 20 unit. Don't you think something? Okay, the smaller break-even point is like always good. That is for sure, right? How can we lower break-even quantity? That is my question. How can we move this contact point over here and over here, something like that? There's a couple of ways, right? One way is like we lower this total cost line parallel to the x-axis like this. We lower this line to over here parallelly, 평행되게. Okay, which means what? If we move this the total cost line in this direction parallel to the x-axis, which means what? You are lowering the y-axis, I mean the intercept, okay? Which means what? You lower your fixed cost, right? There's another way to lower the break-even point, right? If you move the total cost, if you lower the slope of the total cost line, something like this, not moving, okay, something like this, lower your slope of the total cost line in this way, okay, then you also have like a smaller break-even point, okay. Lowering the slope of the total cost means what? Yes, you decrease your variable cost. Again, okay, if you decrease your fixed cost, which means you are parallel, you move the line at parallel, right? This one, hey, you have a fixed cost, the break-even point over here, right? You move this line in downward, okay, which means that if you decrease your fixed cost, you have smaller break-even point. But even if you keep the fixed cost at the same level, if you decrease your variable cost, which means that if you decrease the slope, lower your slope of the fixed cost line, I mean total cost line, in this way, then you will also have the smaller break-even point. Is there another way? Is there other way to decrease your break-even quantity? Yes. If you increase, if you say something like this, let me erase this. Now, if you, okay, move your total revenue curve this way, wow, yeah, in this way, then your break-even point is getting smaller and smaller. Okay. What is the meaning of the moving the total revenue curve in this way with same intercept? Intercept is got to be 0, right? Here, right? Yes, you are increasing the slope. Increasing slope in the total revenue line means that where is the slope? Slope is this one. Yes, increasing price. If you increase the price, or either you decrease fixed cost, or either you decrease your variable cost, or if you increase the price, then you will have smaller break-even point. Hey, then why don't we just like increase the price to get like smaller break-even point? Is there any problem for doing that? Let's find out what will happen in the next table. Okay, now this is what you want to see. when you change the price, for example, here, right? Say we actually simulated, so to speak, like that. We simulated different price level, the quantity at the different price level. For example, at the price when we set up the price at $14, okay, um, the break-even point is gonna be say the 75, right? So when we increase the price, like I said, as you see here, the break-even point is going to decrease, right? Then why don't we set up the price as like a 22? Because the break-even point is like a smallest. The problem is, what is the problem? When we increase the price, okay, the third column, this one is the expected demand at given price level, which means that when we set up the price at the $14, the expected demand is going to be 71,000. When we increase the price by $2 to $16, the demand decrease a little bit. It leads to the 67,000 unit demand. Okay, when we increase the price to the $22, the demand further decrease to the 23,000. Hey, right? Or when we increase the price to the $22, break-even point is like smaller at 25. However, the demand decrease even further. So it becomes like an even smaller than break-even point, which means what? We cannot reach to the break-even point. Other price point over here, okay, although this the break-even point is like a little bit higher than this, okay, all the demand is like exceed break-even point. The demand, the fact that the demand exceed break-even point means what? We are making profit. How? Let's calculate the profit. How can we calculate total revenue? Total revenue again is like say P times Q. Q is demand, right? You multiply this $14 with demand. If you multiply 14 times 71,000, that is like a 994,000. If you multiply $16 and $16 and 67,000 quantity, 67,000 units. If you multiply this one, and it's going to be 1,072,000. It's something like this. Now you have a total revenue like this. Okay. Now you can also calculate the total cost, right? You know that the unit cost, the variable cost in the previous case is like a $10, and the fixed cost is like a 300,000. Okay. With this information, you can calculate total cost, right? Right? 300,000 plus say 71,000 times 10. That is variable cost. That it ends up with like 1,010,000, something like this. This one is right. This one is the total revenue, right? And this one is total cost. Your profit is gonna be, say, profit is revenue minus cost equal profit. If you set up the price at $14, your revenue is too small. Okay, it cannot actually suck up the cost level. I mean the fixed cost. Okay, say you know what is the break-even point, right? So it could not reach to the break-even point. Right? If you set up the $14, right, then your break-even point is like it's like say you can calculate this one, right? Say fixed cost is like a 300 divided by variable cost. In this case is the price is $14, okay, minus variable cost 10. Okay, you need to divide this 300 by 4. Okay, right? Then at least you need to divide this like a 4. you need to sell at least like a 75,000 units to be break even. However, at this demand, demand is only 71 unit, which is less than your break even point, which means what? You have minus negative profit. Okay. So what is the problem of the increasing the price like this? Okay. Again, right? If you increase the price, right? Your break-even point, I'm not going to calculate this one over here, but it's going to be a lot smaller. However, it's like 75. The break-even point is 75. It's like the demand is like 71. You are say if you increase the price to the 22, your break-even point decrease to the 25,000. However, demand, as in this case, okay, is smaller than your break-even point, which means what? You also have minus profit. Okay, so what's gonna be your say optimal price? Can you choose the optimal price? Can you? You might want to say that $18 is the optimal price because at the at price of the 18, the profit is maximum. Yes, if we assume that the price maximization is our goal for the pricing. I'm sorry, the profit maximization is our goal for the optimal pricing. If we assume that yes, $18 is the optimal price. However, there are lots of the other goal for the pricing. Maybe if you want to quickly increase your market share, even if like you cannot reach to the break-even point, you just want to expand your sales in a short time. Okay, if that is your the goal, then maybe increasing the maximum sales point is gonna be your optimal price point. Which one has the biggest sales? Yes, 75, 71. Here is at $14 we have the maximum sales, maximum quantity. I mean the maximum quantity, right? So if you want to increase the quantity, no matter what, then the $14 is gonna be your optimal price. But if we do not, okay, say any other the specific goal, assuming the profit maximization point as the optimal pricing point is like okay assumption, right? You can fairly assume that if there is no other requirement, okay, if there is no other consideration, okay, no other consideration or no other goal is specifically manifested, okay, then yeah, assuming the profit maximization point is the way to choose the optimal price over here. Okay. Now you will see that, okay, when you increase the price, you will realize, oh, here's which one is like the most difficult to calculate. But this one is like you arbitrarily set up, okay. The break-even point, you can calculate break-even point as we did, okay. And this one you just like calculate this one times this one, and the total cost, you can also calculate the total cost, okay. Once you know this one and this one, the profit is like automatically calculated. What is the most difficult to calculate? Yes, that is the third column, the expected demand, okay. Yeah, forecasting demand is like one of the very difficult questions to answer in the marketing. That is a very basic, very fundamental. But when you say that it is a basic question, a fundamental question, it doesn't necessarily mean that answering that question is easy. All right, yeah, that is one of the toughest questions we can answer. However, okay, we can actually rely on the previous theory or like some survey to fairly predict the quantity level. Okay, in the economics, okay, there is like some theory which can lead us to assume, which can lead us to guess the relationship between the price and the quantity. Okay, although forecasting demand is difficult, but one thing we kind of know based on our experience is when we increase the price, okay, most of the cases the demand decrease. That is one thing for sure we know in most of cases. Okay, not all the cases. Okay, so there is like some theory which investigated the relationship between the price and quantity, which is the inverse relationship. And what do we call this one? Yes, we call this one the demand curve. Okay. So normally, okay, the demand and price are inversely related. That is why the demand curve is like following this line, right? Say like this, right? Not this, right? Higher price means the lower demand, but it is in most of cases, like I said, right? In some cases, right? For the prestige goods, okay, the higher price can equal the higher demand, okay, because like sometimes the high price can act like a utility, okay. People might see that, hey, since this one has a higher price, probably quality is also good too. Okay, if the people perceive that way, okay, the high price also generate high quantity, okay, high amount of quantity. But not every time. Okay, usually, okay, the price and the quantity is like inversely related. I'm going to show you the demand curve, two type of demand curve. Like this, okay? We have the two type of the demand curve. Let's start from this one, all right? Say, in this one, okay, when we decrease the price from the P2 to the P1, okay, then quantity increase from Q2 to Q1, okay? And what is the revenue? How the revenue is represented in this graph? Like I said, okay, let me write it again. Revenue is what? P times Q. So P times Q is like actually the shape, size of this rectangular, right? So revenue over here, when we have like a P2 and Q2, the revenue is like about this much. But when we decrease the price to the P1, our revenue is like about this. Which one is bigger? Yes, obviously P1, Q1. This is the bigger rectangle, right? So in this case, okay, we are better off when in this case, our revenue increase when we decrease the price because it increased the quantity. If the price and quantity relationship is like this, in other words, if we decrease price just a little bit, if you can expect like a huge increase in the quantity, we call it elastic demand. I believe you've already studied this one in the high school, right? What is the other case? Let's look at this case. In this case, when we decrease the price from the P2 to the P1, the quantity increased just a little bit. So as a result, what is the revenue at the P2 and Q2 point is about this. But when we decrease the price to the P1, then our revenue about this is about this side. And this part is like a common part. You only need to compare this size, this amount, and this amount, right? This amount is like a lot bigger than this, which means what? Your revenue is bigger before you decrease the price, because even if like you decrease the price by same amount, your increase in the quantity is so small, it doesn't change. Okay, the quantity did not respond to the price change as much as it did in the elastic demand case. So what do we call this one? We call it inelastic demand. 비탄력적 수요. This one is 탄력적 수요, right? Okay, here is a question. I know that you've already studied this one in the, say, high school or like introduction to the economics in the, say, freshman days. My question is, as your marketer, what kind of demand do you want to get? What kind of demand curve you want to get? This one? Because when you decrease the price, hey, you have a huge increase in the quantity and you're going to be better off. It looks like this one, you might want to have demand like this. Are you sure? No, it is not, okay? We want to have, as a marketer, we want to have the demand like this. We want to have inelastic demand, okay? Let me tell you what, my friends, okay, we are all customers, okay? So we are all happy about the lowering price. So when the company lower the price and like make the more revenue, we think that it seems like that is the good thing. However, as a marketer, just like change your perspective. Here, okay, see, you see that why I started from the P2, not why did I start from P2, not starting from the P1? Okay, because I just wanted to hook you up. Okay, I'm going to kind of try to trap you. If we start from the P1, okay, when we move, if we move from the P1 to the P2, it is in fact like increasing the price. Okay, so when we have like a P1 and the Q1, okay, and when we increase the price for some reason, okay, and we are way worse off, then you shouldn't increase the price. Okay, you have to keep your price lower level as P1. However, what about this? Okay, P1 and Q1, even if you increase the price to the P2, you're gonna be better off. Right? That is the paradise for the marketer. Hey, which means what? Even if like we increase the price, not too many customers are actually flat. Lots of customers stays with us even if we increase the price. What do we call this? This one is so-called loyalty. Right? As a marketer, we want to have more loyal customers, right? That is marketer's dream. We want to have inelastic demand, not elastic demand. Please do not think about, okay, do not see all the things from the customer's perspectives. Okay, now you got to see the things from the marketer's point of view, not customer's point of view. From the customer point of view, lower price is good. However, the marketer's point of view, you always got to think about how to increase the price without hurting your quantity too much, without hurting your demand too much. If you have the inelastic demand, you can increase the price without hurting your quantity. Now, okay, we have to know that we have to talk about how to get this inelastic demand then. Okay, what makes our demand inelastic? You can read it over, alright? I just explained that elastic demand, inelastic demand. Oh, by the way, alright, to specifically calculate the price elasticity, 탄력성, okay, you got to put like a percentage change in the price, okay, And in the denominator, numerator, you put like a percentage change in the quantity, okay, demand, okay, not the actual number. You have to put like a percentage change over here, okay. And when you calculate this, the amount, when the absolute value, okay, absolute value without those the sign, minus or plus, it doesn't matter. When the absolute value is like a higher than 1, okay, the elasticity, absolute value of the elasticity is like a higher than 1, then we call it elastic demand. When it is like a smaller than 1, we call it inelastic demand. Okay. Now, like I said, okay, we like to have inelastic demand as a marketer. How can we get it? Right? There are a couple of such cases which make our demand inelastic. First of all, if your product is unique product, there is no alternative, then your demand is going to be inelastic. Okay, and if your quality is like a super, okay, then your demand is going to be inelastic. If your product is like a prestigious good, okay, then yeah, even if like you increase the price, it does not decrease quantity too much. If there is no substitute product, okay, like I said, is it like a unique product, okay, then yes, you can increase the price without hurting your demand too much. And also, if the cost relative to income is small, then your demand is going to be inelastic. Which means what? Right? The cost relative to income means what? Okay, this one actually tells you a couple of things. Okay, which means that rich people, okay, rich people are price inelastic. For example, a certain product is like $100, okay, and there is like two type of customers. One customer, customer A, their income is like 1 million. Okay, second customer, their income is like 100,000. Okay, cost relative to income. Okay, it is same cost, $100. However, their ratio to the customer A is lot smaller than the ratio to the customer B. Right? So obviously, needless to say, the rich people, the price elasticity of the rich people is smaller than the price elasticity of less rich people. Okay. What else? We cannot actually make the people rich. Remember? Okay. We have to do something about this in terms of our marketing tactics. We cannot make people rich, right? Hey, like obviously, okay, rich people's price elasticity is smaller than poor people. But do we always have to target rich people only? It significantly decrease your customer pool. So what is the alternative? We cannot actually make the people rich. That is for sure. Okay. So we cannot actually increase their income. But to lower the cost relative to income, at least we can actually lower the cost side or perceived cost side. Do you remember, how to make like how to sell the product which do not have the purchasing power? We cannot make them rich, but we can do something about the, say, cost. Yes, one thing is like we lower the price. However, like I said, okay, the decreasing price, the discount is like a last resort. Okay, don't think about that as a first step, right? So how can we decrease the cost without giving the discount. Yes, yeah, Volvo, okay, monthly allotment, okay, say you can divide their payment, okay, instead of like paying the lump sum money up front, okay, you can make like a monthly payment for the expensive goods, okay, then people perceive the cost for the same product as but you the people perceive the cost for the same product a lot lower than the lump sum payment. Okay, the hal부. Okay, that is a way to adjust this cost relative to income. Right? What if like just like instead of saying that hey $100, but what if like we say that it's like a 10 payment. Okay, say 10 payment for the say 999. Maybe we can say that, right? Then it's gonna be close to the 100, but instead of like just to compare that, hey, it is like $100. Or like you say that that is a 10 payment of like a 999. Which one sounds like a cheaper? Yeah, this one is a lot cheaper than this the $100. That is a way to adjust like their price perception a little bit. Okay, see, it's like a pricing. It sounds like a very pretty much like a subjective thing. However, it is not. Okay, lots of psychology, lots of subjectivity involved in the pricing decisions. For that kind of like a subjective pricing, okay, that is gonna be something we're gonna discuss in the next class. In fact, next week, okay, we're gonna analyze the Black & Decker case. Okay, so after we finish the Black & Decker case, then we're gonna come back to this subjective part of the pricing. Okay, hey, don't forget I gave you 2 quiz in this slide set. Okay, all right, see you around. Let's call it today. Right. I'm not going to. I'm gonna use this same slide set for the say week 11. Okay, so keep this slide set. All right.